Welcome to the Rise Up podcast, where we explore the stories of business leaders rising above challenges and driving innovation. This is Josh here, and I'm really excited to have another one of our local long-bred Lubbock businesses. I've got Scott Clark, CEO of Brandon and Clark, joining me in the studio. Scott, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, well, we're excited to dive into this today. I love to kind of start with, are you a Lubbock native, man? Are you West Texas native?
Yeah, born and raised in Lubbock. Usually takes that type of a person to hang around forever in Lubbock.
Did anything pull you away for a season and
absolutely
bring you back?
I think many people can relate to the thoughts of a young person who grew up in West Texas. They all think that they're going to leave.
Yes.
They're going to escape, and then they come back.
Escape velocity. It sucks you back in.
Come back. You know, by the time you think you're out of here, what you don't realize is it got in your blood.
That's right. That's right. Well, my story, I was a Dallas kid. We moved around a bunch, but Dallas predominantly. And my wife and I met. She's a Lubbock native, Plains woman, graduated from Monterey. And we met in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we were getting serious. And I looked at her, I was like, I love your family in Lubbock. I love what they do in Lubbock. We're not living there. She's like, I'm not moving back. And, as the story goes, a year and a half later, we're married, and God and timing and plans. And I've been in Lubbock now 24 years, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's that story when you trying to start a family, usually the equation starts to change.
Yeah, yeah.
And you look at coming back to Lubbock.
Yeah, yeah. Great place. So kind of tell me a little bit of your journey. You in Lubbock, moved right a little bit, but now you're kind of running and gunning a lot of stuff at Brandon and Clark. So how did that story move out of? Did you do college stuff here or?
Sure. Did college here, but that story probably starts earlier.
Yeah.
Working at Brandon and Clark.
Yeah.
Brandon and Clark supports communities by sustaining electrical, mechanical systems to keep industry humming. And what we work on are very large electrical machines and complex electrical control systems. I bring that up because that's really the origin story.
Yeah.
They often joke that my first words were dirty motor.
Yeah.
Things we work on electrical motors.
Yep.
And I grew up around a get-her-done world.
Yeah.
An entire team of figure-it-outers. Many generations had already been in that industry, and those were all the stories at Thanksgiving, is learning how we solved a problem at an oil refinery or a cotton gin, or solved a problem for a customer that was unique. And so I started working there as a very young child.
Yeah.
Cleaning parts, learning to sweep floors, making sure that you knew how to work.
Yep.
And so it was a natural progression, perhaps, to think that I was going to go get a degree in electrical engineering.
Yeah.
I really don't even remember the thought. Disappointingly, I don't remember going through like an active process of making that decision.
Yeah.
It was just, this is what's going to happen. And naturally, Texas Tech was a great opportunity. It's a great school, great value, and an excellent electrical engineering program.
A lot of people don't know that.
It's got some real secret sauce that not many people realize it's there. In particular, their Project Lab series really drives a level of industry readiness and practicality into the students that I certainly didn't know was there as part of the DNA of the department until you get there. And even when you go through it, you don't really realize it's a special program until you get to work side by side with colleagues that came out of other institutions. So I got 2 degrees at Texas Tech as an undergrad. I got an electrical engineering degree and a computer science degree at the same time. And I think I had a minor in math. And I was still in that mode, having cleaned parts and swept floors and wired control panels, wound motors, all through junior high and high school and summers, that I wanted to escape.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted a bigger intellectual challenge, perhaps.
When we aren't even quite sure what that intellectual challenge looks like. It's just, it's not here.
Yeah. And I really failed to understand just how hard a problem that we solve with customers on a day-to-day basis really is.
Yeah.
But I thought I wanted to go do something else. And I remember being at one of these recruiting days at Texas Tech, and there's a big banquet hall or something of that nature that's got all the Raytheons and the Lockheed Martins and things like that. in there trying to get resumes from students.
Yeah.
And I walked down to the hallway, and I guess there were some people that didn't get registered in time to try to recruit students or something. Down this sort of dark hallway was this one guy, and it said National Security Agency. I'm not sure if I really understood what the National Security Agency was.
It sounds intriguing.
It looked like the Defense Department. It was the government, all those things. But all I remember is they were recruiting for electrical engineers, computer science, mathematicians, and linguists. And being cocky, I said, well, I'm 3 of 4.
Yeah.
Here's my resume. I walked off. Didn't think anything of it. A couple months later, if you worked for the Defense Department, you would understand. I get a packet like this big. And that's to be an intern.
Wow.
And it was eye-opening. This was pre-9/11. You go and get a polygraph, just be an intern. In D.C., polygraphs are interesting. That's a rabbit hole to go down. And I get there, and I was working for the National Security Agency and their research and development group, and it's a group full of PhDs. I thought, hey, this is exactly what I want to do. This is who I need to surround myself with. This is intellectual. This is harder.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't dusty. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And so I accepted a position, even before I came back for my final year. And 9/11 happened. And that changed a lot in those groups.
Yeah.
I came back to a completely different organization.
Yeah.
You come back to Humvees parked at the gate with 50 cows, and it's a different mood, different environment. It's good. You wanted to support the country and support the nation, and I felt like I could do that in some small part. Doing the research I was doing research on grounded geostationary orbit laser communication platforms, and it was really good to get out of West Texas. It was good to learn a different organization than the one I'd been brought up around. Then I met my wife, living in Maryland. Maryland's got a lot of trees.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
And we got married, and then the calculation just changes a little bit. You're driving an hour one way on I-95. It's a busy road. You think about it, and he said, this isn't how I grew up.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd ever be in sales. I didn't think I was a salesperson. I tell all the engineering students that I teach that that's going to be their number one job. And they look very confused at me when I tell them that they're going to be in sales. They almost seem disappointed. I think they should be happy. I didn't think I was a salesperson back then, but I convinced my wife to move from Maryland.
There you go.
Lubbock.
Yes.
And, I don't think it's the looks.
I was going to say, it's beautiful in its own way, if you can imagine beauty in this way.
So there's some salesmanship that had to go on there.
Yes.
And her whole family moved here. And we came back, and I've been working for the family business ever since. I say it's a family business. It is very much a family.
Yeah.
Certainly there are people that have a lineage of ownership, but really the family is broader than just people with the last name Clark.
That's good.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work. The success of Brandon and Clark is not the Clarks or the Turners or the Hudgens or the different families that have been involved. It's really the people that have been with us for so long. We just gave an award to an employee who closed out 45 years.
Oh my gosh. That's unheard of.
And it's not unheard of in our organization.
Wow.
So it is very much family. So when I say I came back to the family business, it's really the broader family that I came back, very privileged to work with such an amazing group of people.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on one thing you said, because you said it somewhat jokingly, but I know there's a lot of seriousness in it too. And it's something that I've got 2 younger daughters, and there's a lot of young people listening, and that is cultivating and developing intentionally or unintentionally sales skills, communication skills. I'm going to echo, I think is one of the most valuable and important skills, no matter what you do. You may head down and code computer, software all day long. Okay. But there's still a level of communications and sales. So I'm going to ask you, dig in a little more around that, because a lot of people don't pick that up. Yeah. You're like, oh, Scott, in the engineering world, what's sales?
And this wasn't something that was obvious to me. It takes some time for this. It took some time for this to become clear to me and just my journey. Scott of 20 years ago wouldn't have said this. Maybe even 15 or 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been as forceful on this. But those soft skills are absolutely critical to your success.
Yep.
And it's career independent. And you look at those that are successful and you can see that common thread once your eyes get open to it. And I don't think it's something that is focused on enough in the academic environment in particular. I've been quite vocal on this to people who have been around me. I really think that there's a complete, it's not as adequate a focus on the soft skills to make graduates successful. I think there's an assumption that they're going to develop these skills in the sort of like trial and tribulations of undergraduate. And I do believe that Texas Tech does a better job than many institutes with this in the electrical computer engineering department. In particular, they have a series of project labs that are just, they're character building at the very least.
Yep.
But if you succeed, and many do in those classes, you probably did cultivate some soft skills in order to effectively communicate your work, effectively navigate team dynamics and things of that nature. But really, there needs to be even more emphasis. I think there needs to be even more formality put around teaching soft skills, something as simple as time management, team dynamics, behavior, being more self-aware about what your own personality is and the variations that are typical within, human society of what those different personalities are. I'm sure you've got a different personality than me.
Yep.
But being able to intuit, what your drivers are, what your strengths are, what type of personality you have, it's not there for me to manipulate.
Yeah.
It's just for us to be able to find common ground faster.
Yep.
And I think that's something that's just missing.
Yeah.
And COVID changed a lot for students. Less interaction face-to-face, more Zoom meetings. Even today, there's more Zoom meetings. And I just think this is a place that we're slipping away from the common sense not commonly applied on soft skills.
Yep.
But soft skills are absolutely critical. When I teach classes at Tech, you usually have a room full of engineers, taught Project Lab, the same series that I'm so fond of that I think makes the difference between Texas Tech and other institutions. And I ask them, hey, what are you going to do when you get a job, when you graduate, when you quote unquote grow up? And they say, oh, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be a computer scientist. I'm going to be those things. I shake my head and said, no, you aren't. You're going to be in sales.
Yeah.
And they are just confused.
It floors them.
They're just confused by that answer. And if you can't advocate for yourself, if you can't communicate your ideas, you're just not going to get where you're trying to get. You might get there by accident.
Yep.
But I think getting there with intentionality is so much more fun.
Well, I used to think, and I've naturally been very comfortable communicating thoughts, ideas, concepts, visions. I don't know why. That was maybe just an innate gift that I got planted with. But I've recognized sales, I think, to a lot of people is, how do I get you on your side of the table pulled over to my side of the table?
Yeah, it's not about manipulation. It's just helping you understand what I'm thinking. You would think it's difficult for humans to understand each other.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough.
Yeah.
We've got this really low data rate communication method called language.
Yes.
And too often we strip it down to these really low data rate communication methods, text. And I'll look at people and say, if you've got a critical thing, why would you not use the most high fidelity, most data rich method to try to solve that problem? And they say, oh, that makes sense. I say, then why are you trying to solve it over text?
That's right.
Like, how many bits is that? I mean, they created text just to control data rate. Or maybe the next step up is they have a phone call. I said, no. If you need to solve a problem, it needs to be as high data rate as possible. That means I need to be in front of you. I need to be able to see those little micro postures, those inflections. Yeah. I need to be able to see like the position.
93% of communication is nothing to do with what you say. Yeah, that's right.
And even then, there's still a huge gap between what's in my head and what you're picking up. And so it requires a lot of work. Those soft skills are very, very important. And you say you came to it naturally. Many people who know me, they'll say, no, Scott did not come to that naturally. That required an extraordinary amount of work.
Yeah.
It required an extraordinary amount of work. And I really spent the first half of my career designing machines and systems. And now I strictly just design teams.
Yeah.
And that requires even more focus.
Yeah, it does.
On it, right?
Yep. That's good. I'm curious, what does Brandon and Clark look like today that's similar or different than Brandon and Clark, when did it start? What's kind of the origin of Brandon and Clark?
So April 1st, 1950.
Wow.
I guess the owners found some humor in starting that. That's an April Fool's Day.
That's 75 years, if I do my math right.
But 75 years this year, so we've been going through an entire year of celebrating. So it's a good time for me to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because I've spent a lot of time being particularly reflective
on
that this year and seeing where the common thread is in there. And Brandon and Clark has stayed very on mission.
Yep.
Of course, there have been some side quests and some interesting things that have happened. But at the end of the day, when Brandon and Clark started, we were focused on being a service customer, service company for our customers, solving challenges in the electromechanical space.
Yep.
So put simply, though, Brandon and Clark started as an electric motor repair shop. And it was natural for us to add some capabilities as we moved on through the years. And we added capabilities like electrical control systems and panels, electrical contracting. We have electricians that work for us. I'm a licensed electrician myself. I grew up with a lot of that focus. Then we added merchandise sales. Anything that we repair, we typically have an ability to try to sell.
Yep.
Sometimes something's not repairable. You need to be able to solve the problem for the customer.
Yep.
And then we added electrical transformers. That was probably the most recent addition, I would say, to the DNA at Brandon and Clark is electrical transformers. And we put that capability into the mix in 1985.
So 40 years ago.
Quite a bit of time still.
Yeah.
So Brandon and Clark has been focused on those things all along. We've been customer focused. We've been employee family focused. Very much what we started with is still what we have.
Yep.
The values of Brandon and Clark are really three values. Number one value of Brandon and Clark is a shared fate.
Yeah.
We all succeed together, and that's a shared fate not just with the employees but with the customer.
Yeah.
If they don't sucdeed, we're not
Boy, that's
succeeding.
good. That's really good.
And another value is our heritage. We are, defined by the history that we have, but we're not necessarily bound by it. We're still innovating and we're still moving. And then we're very focused on being essential to the customer, essential to each other. We are an essential business.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all heard that term more than we would have liked in the
COVID years. Yeah.
COVID years, but we never missed a beat.
Yeah.
We were open every day, every hour of all that time. So we're very much who we started out.
Yep. I'm going to ask a somewhat silly but curious question. If you're in Lubbock, Texas, and you drive down I-27, heading towards the airport, downtown, or wherever it may be, you will probably drive by, and I pay attention to lots of stuff. My wife's like, I've never seen that before, but you've got a pretty large presence there, somewhere in
off the interstate there.
Off the interstate. And I remember you guys were building a pretty big addition, and I don't know if it's 10 years ago, 7 years ago, I'm going to say a word that's painted very large across the building. And for years, Scott, my curiosity was killing me because I didn't know anyone in your organization. I'm a real estate guy, finance guy, and then got in the energy space 5-6 years ago. Rotating apparatus. And so for our listeners, I want them to know, just this is my little curiosity. What is that facility?
Why that?
And what is a rotating apparatus?
Why those words?
And why so big across here? Because it's fascinating to me. And then what is that in the actual business? Because obviously you use it, you spent resources to do that.
Sure. So from our perspective, it makes perfect sense. And everybody in our space, it makes a lot of sense. So those are words that are used within our industry specific to our electric motor repair operations, which are apparatus.
Yep.
I mean, they're a thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's an old word. It's not an old word in my world. Okay?
Yeah.
And it rotates. There's not a complicated.
A motor rotates.
Motor rotates.
Yeah,
Wow,
gotcha.
imagine that. And so that's what we work on in that building, rotating apparatus. Within our industry, the trade groups, everybody would say, oh, yeah, that's your rotating apparatus division there in Lubbock. Okay. But to the layperson driving down the interstate, they say, what in the world?
What is going on in
there? Why does it say that? And so some silver lining, not that smart when we chose that sign. It's been one of those sort of like hooks for people to look at it as they go by.
Yes.
And they look at that sign and there's some curiosity. So I appreciate opportunities like this to talk about what Brandon and Clark does, because it's one of those B2B businesses. It's a sleeper in Lubbock.
Yeah.
A lot of people understand what we do. I talked about how we sustain electromechanical systems. Another way to help somebody understand what Brandon and Clark does is we really maintain the operating system of civilization.
Ooh, that's good.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And there are just so many things you depend on that society really doesn't know how much they depend on. But every day you wake up, you expect the fans to turn and the toilets to flush and the lights to turn on. And those are all the things that we help sustain.
Yep.
We keep all those pieces of equipment running. But rotating apparatus is one piece of the pie that we work on. It's there large. And I'll say a little candidness here. Why so large? I'm a competitive person.
Yeah.
And we've got a competitor.
Yeah.
Who's on the other side of the interstate.
Yeah.
I happen to know that they had an upstairs room where there's a window.
Yeah.
And I just did some calculations, and sure enough, they could see the top of that building.
That's so good.
I really wanted them to have to
this
see.
This wouldn't hurt if it had. Let's increase the font size by an extra 5 to 10 feet.
Little prideful. Not one of my better moments, maybe. I think the whole team was with me, though. This wasn't all me. There were other people in the family, the broader family, that thought similarly to this. And I told the builder one day why we did what we did, and he thought that was really funny. And then he was talking to that competitor, their ownership group, one day, and he said that, and they walked up to that window and they said, "Sure enough, we can." He said,
"See it.
I can build you one bigger."
He's trying to get a bigger contract size.
So that's a little bit of the story.
Yeah. No.
About the sign that's on that building.
Well, and I'll even just say, you use the phrase, and I think it's spot on. I think as a business owner, as a leader, sometimes you got to think about, okay, do we have to put the word rotating apparatus on the side of the building? Maybe not. But to your point, there is a hook often in what you do as a business that grabs attention and stirs up a conversation, which opens opportunities and doors that weren't there. I used to do this early in my real estate career. I had a silly name tag on for a real estate brokerage business that I was in as an agent when I was just starting out. I was 24 years old, didn't know hardly anyone, just trying to get names and relationships. And the name tag was upside down, totally accidentally. And a guy's like, "Hey, your name's upside down." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you." And then it hit me. I was like, I just got his attention.
Yeah, that's a good hook.
He would have never said anything if it was right side up. So I literally every day I'd go into banks, I'd go into office buildings, whatever it may be, and I would have it upside down. And it got so many, I'm so sorry. What? I'm in real estate. It was stupid. My wife hated it. She hated it because
I'm going to steal that one. That one's good.
So a hook. What is it you can do?
It's a little hack.
It's a hack hook to just get some extra attention, because here's what I believe, and I'm hearing this come out of your mouth too. We have no idea in a society that, quite frankly, people are so busy. They've got so many things. How do you just somehow stimulate potential connection, open door opportunities that could unveil opportunities to serve each other in the win-win capacity you mentioned? You don't know where they're going to happen unless you somewhat intentionally, unintentionally position yourself.
Yeah, you've got to cultivate a network. You don't really know when those seeds you're going to plant.
That's right.
Are going to bear fruit. That's why I tell everybody they're in sales. You're selling all the time.
Yes.
You just haven't admitted it to yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And the ones that haven't admitted it to themselves that they're in sales, they're really doing themselves a great disservice, because they're not effectively using their day.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you this: what product, service, do you just really enjoy working in right now as we face economically all over, Texas, the Southwest, lots of challenges. You guys are solving a lot of those. Is there one area, department that you're just personally enjoying kind of solving and leading in your organization?
That's a really hard one to pick within our organization. I would say the one that I really like to see grow and is really fulfilling to watch is any of our field service aspects. We perform a lot of these functions in a shop environment. It's great to see the growth and the maturing that goes on with the field service team.
Yep.
Those team members have such an opportunity to learn at an accelerated pace.
Wow. Yeah.
Working in the field because they get a lot of diversity of problems that they have to solve. So it's very interesting to see people mature, young team members who maybe had never even used hand tools get to a place where they're a superstar in front of that customer. So it's great to be able to be part of and support a group that's continuing to grow like that.
Before we started off air, you and I were having a conversation a little bit about, just the massive growth we see all over the place. You said it, the critical guts and needs for the equipment needed to just allow these businesses to grow and operate. What would you say, just again on air here, what would you say are some of the challenges that you see we here in Texas are facing? What are some, I think I like to say, what are some honest expectations and how we're going to be able to address them? I mean, they're not going to solve themselves tonight. Yeah. So I'll just kind of speak to that for just a moment.
There are some real challenges. Some of them might be a little bit more unique to Texas. I think a lot of them are universal to everything that's in the United States at the very least, though. And those are around electrical infrastructure.
Yep.
And the entire stack of things that make our electrical infrastructure work, there are major problems. Let's just start with staffing. Let's start with staffing.
Yep.
There just aren't enough skilled candidates coming in to roles to do engineering design in these electrical infrastructure jobs. I think I'm seeing the pendulum swing. The micro mentality of the world is really starting to take hold, and something that was seen as maybe not as sexy, a career choice, is being seen as that's really fulfilling, or that's rewarding, or that's more sustainable, all those things. And I'm seeing more students gravitate towards power engineering and those types of jobs. But there's a huge challenge because the existing generation of experts that are designing, specifying, leading repairs and maintenance of your electrical infrastructure, they're all getting ready to retire.
Yeah.
But they've stayed in place without a trainee, without the apprentice for longer than what their baton handoff looked like.
Yeah.
So the new wave are being expected to come up to speed in 5 years when the previous wave may have had a 10 or 15-year overlap. So there's a lot of knowledge that's potentially lost or has to be accelerated, and that's difficult.
Yeah, it is.
So it's very difficult. In our industry, why do I see so much value in somebody who's been with us for 45 years? I mean, that may seem like a natural thing. But one of the most important things is sometimes we're going to see a problem maybe once in somebody's lifetime that we solved.
Yep.
And there's just really no way to communicate that. Yep. And
you can't write down a manual.
Not on that one-time, one-off.
Yep.
And you may see it again in another 30 years. So you've got to have the longevity. It's just difficult to communicate that one-off thing. And the outgoing generation of engineers and leadership handing off to a new generation of engineers and leadership, it's very difficult. And I don't think that's unique to the state of Texas. There may be some things that make it a little bit more of a fast-paced environment in our deregulated environment because really our infrastructure is a little larger and more complex than maybe something that's in a federally regulated power pool. But that's the first thing in the state of Texas. So staying on the topic of energy and grid, what the challenges are moving forward, we do have we're victims of our own success. We have a robust economy in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And it's doing well. And with that comes need for energy and growth. So being able to sustain that growth and meet those demands is very difficult. How we dealt with that in the past as a nation, as a civilization, is we built excess capacity.
Yeah.
It wasn't unusual to have 20% excess capacity at any given time. That's really good from a maintenance and reliability standpoint. You can take a power plant down, you can take this down, you can take that transmission line down, you can do maintenance. I think we see a different thing, and we see it twice a year now. It's not just in the summer, it's also in the winter. Wherever we have like peak energy demand, twice a year, depending on if we're heating dominated or cooling dominated in the state, and you get both in the state of Texas, you see that we're at maximum capacity.
Yep.
And if you're on the ERCOT side, you see announcements about this. You may even have energy providers that are trying to incentivize you to cut back.
Yep.
Depending on what type of plans you signed up for. So we're just right there at the hairy edge. And you can't just snap your fingers and create 20% more excess capacity.
Oh, you can't? I thought I could just plug in my data center and away we go.
Yeah.
Electrons are there, infrastructure's there.
It's gonna be a challenge, and it's only getting worse with Project Stargate in Abilene.
Oh man.
Right? Picked a good location because there was probably some excess capacity there.
So a lot of people don't know this, but this has gotten some national news. But if you're in the energy industry, this is is it gigawatt, over gigawatt?
Yeah, they're going to need more than gigawatt, I think.
Yeah.
Don't give me a line. I don't know the exact electrical infrastructure demands, but it's an extremely large data center set. So again, victims of our own success, right? We've got a scale, and you can't just snap your fingers and bring on a lot more generation. Certainly not baseload, not nuclear. Regulatorily, it's difficult. I think there are a variety of, private equity and venture-backed entities that are going to try to make a difference there on some small grid connect nuclear options. It seems like it's always a decade away.
I know.
On that. So then you've got gas-fired units.
Turbines are how far?
Coal-fired units. You've got renewable that goes on. So it's just an all of the above solution to our energy needs. So you're throwing in grid connected, industrial turbines, gas turbines.
And those are on standby, just ready to go. GE's got turbines just ready to roll off the factory. I mean, I've heard a year and a half.
It all takes time. You've got to find the right position within the grid to tie to a transmission line where you're actually going to be able to get power from point A to point B the way you want. You can throw solar at it. You can throw wind at it. It just makes for a very complex electrical generation system. It's not getting simpler. It's getting more complicated in order to cover all the needs.
And you said something I thought that was really telling. You said the more complicated systems and infrastructure becomes, fill in the blank.
Yeah. As much as we try as maybe engineers, managers to make complicated systems very reliable, it's just difficult. If you make something more and more complicated, it's going to fail in unpredictable ways.
Yeah.
And it's
and we're not, I like to say, we're not trying to be Debbie Downers here, but I think there's a reality and expectation. So it kind of leads me as we kind of wrap this up, and that is because we are, I love you saying it, the victims of our own success. We've got this great platform for economic opportunity in Texas. We're open for business, so to speak. We're open for business as much as we can bring the electrons and the infrastructure to support that, certainly. But I think, our side of the business kind of is more and more looking at how do we provide backup, resiliency, reinforcements on the off chance, or maybe the more common chance that there is this. So I'll kind of ask you, what's your if there's a preferred form of backup power, what does that look like from your world? Generator, obviously batteries are newer on the scene, not quite as longevity. They're a little more.
It depends on the applications. Could be application, some optimal decisions always going to depend on the application. We've had commercial, industrial, residential power backup options for many years. And if it was economically viable, they had them. If you go over to frozen food warehouse,
They got to have.
they're going to have a generator sitting
Yeah.
there. But most people don't look at the yellow box that's sitting on the side. But
That's right.
they're going to lose, millions upon millions of dollars in inventory if they lose it. The hospital physical plant's going to have a generator.
Yeah.
Because they need backup power. There is going to be a diesel generator or something like that. Maybe a industrial turbine, something of that nature if they need to be even larger. There are other options that didn't exist 20 years ago, or they're more viable. Batteries certainly there. You see different chemistries that are out that are more advantageous to that. Lithium iron phosphate, a variety of other chemistries, that are good options. The solar is a good option also. I kind of put it in a separate category is the batteries, because it really depends on what somebody's buying on that. Some people don't realize they're getting grid connected only systems.
Yep.
They think, hey, I've got battery backup. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You've got the ability to generate solar. You don't have an inverter that's capable of doing anything than grid tied. So I look at solar as an option too. All those are good options. I think as we look at a highly utilized power generation system that's at maximum, it's at 100%, it's at 105%, this summer or this winter.
Yeah, that's right.
More businesses, more individuals are going to be looking at some sort of power backup, or they're going to try to optimize their business to be able to tolerate a grid out scenario.
That's right.
They're going to have that as part of their business continuity plans. If they don't already, they're going to eventually have that as part of their plans, and they'll choose what they're gonna use. They're going to choose what they're going to use. It could be a combination of all those things at one site.
Yep.
That's going to become more and more part of the solution. I know one thing that I've heard yourself talk about and others is how much of those solutions can then prop up the grid also.
Yeah.
And you are seeing those type of interties and interconnects at this point is, can a business's battery backup solution supply power back to the grid in some sort of scenario? Those are going to be interesting things that can continue to come out.
Yep. Well, it's an interesting time to be in this industry where the challenges and the opportunities are significant. I don't think they're going away. I kind of go, man, the next 5-10 years, it's just buckle up, work, put your head down, work what you can. So I like to kind of wrap up, Scott, with kind of some rapid fire questions. So I'll ask these and kind of first thing that hits your brain, you kind of spit out what you think. What's an industrial machine that fascinates you? I don't get to ask this question to many people, so.
Let me think about this. Make sure I don't leave something really good out there.
No, that's
for everybody that maybe you're unaware of completely. An industrial machine that's really fascinating. There's just so many amazing processes that people don't get to see.
Yeah.
All the way from, special paint mixing lines that exist to industrial processes, glass making operations. Oil and gas has some really unique machines. I would probably say just a refinery in general. A refinery is a huge machine, and there's just so much that's there to understand when you look at the refining process, because it's not just mechanical engineering, it's not just electrical engineering. There's a tremendous amount of chemical engineering that's involved in the distillation process and separating all the products that they have there. So the refinery process is very interesting. That is one of the largest machines I can think of, because it doesn't work without all the pieces. And these sites are, acres upon acres in size, and it all has to work in concert to work properly. And there's just so many engineering disciplines that are involved, and it's something that's not going to go away. I think that's important to highlight, despite, energy evolution of whether it be EVs or solar and grid connected battery, refineries don't go away.
No.
400 years in the future, oil and gas still exists and refineries still exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because too much of the building blocks of civilization are built on it. It's not just about fuel.
That's right. Chemicals.
Despite wanting to have sustainability, I'm all for that. Very good. Like we should try to leave this place a better place than what we found if we can, in terms of sustainability. But in 200 years, you're going to want to go to the hospital and you're going to need an IV.
Yeah.
And the bag's made of plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. We all tried paper straws. There are a variety of things that get put in humans that I wouldn't want the paper straw version of it.
That's right. Yeah.
You're going to need these things. Plastics are still going to be an important component, and oil and gas is all about just providing the seed stock, the base chemistry that's necessary to produce a lot of products.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
a lot of products, pharmaceutical, plastics, medical.
We carry these little devices in our pockets that do a lot of things for us, and I'm pretty sure there's quite a few plastic components.
It's just it's not evil.
Yeah.
It just needs to be used.
Yeah. I like that quote. That's good. All right, let me ask you this question. What is a common energy mistake you see people that run kind of energy, maybe, large manufacturing, big energy, any common energy mistakes you see people making?
Yeah. There are a lot of mistakes that are, I would say, knock-on effects to energy utilization, and those are all around maintenance of electrical machines.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 80%. Let's talk about 1/4 of the focus of Brandon and Clark, which is electric motors. I'm going to focus there, this comment. About 80% of the failure of those machines are mechanical in nature. So when I teach an electrical engineering class, I go to great lengths to tell the electrical engineers it'll almost never be your fault. It'll always be the mechanical engineer's fault because these fail mechanically.
Yeah.
It's just a mechanical failure then becomes an electrical failure sometimes when the things that aren't rotating start to rotate or vice versa. But it's really maintenance. And I see a lot of machines abused and ignored that could have had a much longer life. Yeah. And focusing on that maintenance, actually, if you want to be sustainable focused, focusing on maintenance is one of the number one things you could do to reduce utilization of natural resources, because making a new motor, very resource intensive. We've got to do mining of copper and irons and special materials that go into the electrical steel to alloy electrical steel. We've got to do metal casting. So we've got induction arc furnaces. We've got to cast frames. We've got to do machining of billets to make shafts. We've got to transport these materials all over the world because it's global materials, globally manufactured at this point, even if it's made in the U.S. Then you've got all the people driving to work, doing these things. There's a huge amount. And I don't know if everybody looks at the total life cycle cost. I'm very frustrated in the lack of focus on repairability of new products sometimes. I think we live in a society that's gotten too focused on replace instead of repair.
Well, it's the latest and greatest. It's sexy. It's new. It's shiny.
And maybe the new motor has a higher efficiency standard.
Yep.
Okay. But what energy did you lose by throwing the other one away?
Yep.
It was a lot.
You'll laugh at this, but this isn't quite in the same boat. But like I have this, I'm in my household, my dishwasher. I'm like, listen, you drink some water. You don't need to just throw that in there after one sip of your water. You're going to drink that cup several times. And here's the reason. I don't need to run that dishwasher 25 times with just one sip of water coming from that cup. I want to maximize the efficiency, stewardship of that machine. And in the same way, it's just like we just kind of flippantly use stuff, ignore stuff, don't pay attention to stuff. And,
and that maintenance or lack of focus, it comes from a variety of sources. Sometimes it's just lack of awareness.
Yep.
Lack of processes, maybe in a facility, in a business. Believe me, we do repairs of motors, but really my chief desire for any person that has an electric motor is for that electric motor to stay in the field at your facility or your place, wherever it's being used, as long as humanly possible.
Yep.
The day that it can't, we're happy to help
Yeah.
navigate that scenario for you. But it needs to stay there as long as possible. I see some machines that are very well taken care of, and they're more than 50 years old, in place operating.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I see some motors that have not been cared for the right way, might only last a year.
Yeah.
That wasn't a design defect, and it's not the mechanical engineer's fault either. It's an abusive environment,
Yeah.
whether it be contaminated with debris, overloaded, installation issues, any of those type of things. It's a maintenance issue. It's not easy. It's not easy to get staff to do this. It's not easy to train them. It's not easy to follow up on this. All these things are hard, and they all conspire to lower the lifespan of an electrical machine. It's not specific to electric motors, transformers. I could go on the same conversation. People think, oh, well, those don't have any moving parts. There's a lot of physics going on. There's a lot of motion, and there's a lot of lack of maintenance that can happen in that industry as well. So it's universal. It's universal. I would say the issue is maintenance.
Yep. Well, and it's even good to hear that. And my partner Chris is in here with me, and we're in the process of deploying a lot of these newer, 1 megawatt, half megawatt batteries. And I think the same thoughts on our brain is, how do we maximize the life and longevity of these machines from a maintenance standpoint, from a servicing standpoint, so that we can, maximize their use for not just 10 years, not just 8 years, maybe 12, 15, or who knows how long. So I think that's very good. 2 more questions. I've got this one. What is a challenge you're excited to tackle right now? Or maybe you're in the middle of tackling right now? Any challenges that's just personally rewarding to dive into?
Oh, I'm a person who's always got projects. I've got more projects than time. A lot of them are associated with our business, and the other people who know me will roll their eyes because they know I've got a tremendous number of personal projects as well. Things that are really interesting in the Brandon and Clark team world that we're working on. We've got some really interesting testing technologies that we're bringing to bear in the industry that we're excited to continue to improve. One does specialized rotor testing. It's 50% of the motor that really doesn't have a lot of sophisticated testing capability. We created this testing to solve problems that the manufacturers didn't know about, and we've got another generation of that that's about to be deployed into the industry. So that's fun. That's exciting. And something a little different than what we do day to day in terms of servicing customers, but it does highlight the lengths that we will go to in order to solve problems within the industry. And personally, it's just endless projects. I'm building a house. I'm going to be building the house forever. It's like the Winchester house. If you never heard that story, the redneck version of the Winchester house. It'll never be done. I have a very patient family, and I spend so much time working on teams that's where I get that tactile, sort of problem-solving thing. That's not what I'm focused on in my career at this point. I go home and I work on machines.
That's great. I love it. Okay, last question I'd like to wrap up all of our podcasts with, and it's the old, what advice, what wisdom or counsel would you give the 25-year-old Scott self?
That's an interesting question. I feel like I talk to my future self a lot. And, I always give advice to everybody. They've heard this. I say, do not be unkind to your future self. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to not take into account where you're going to be. Maybe you don't save, maybe you don't take care of your body, those things. It's very easy to make your future self pay the price. The guy that was living in my container 25 years ago would probably be telling me that. So it's like, what do you need me to do in order to make your life a little easier where you're at? There are a lot of things that I would tell my younger version of myself. Focusing on those soft skills earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've been ready to understand that or accept that then. But it's certainly one of the things I would have told myself.
Well, I think it's huge. I think it's good. Man, Scott, we've got, we could chat more, maybe on a second round later.
Sure.
Thank you so much. This has been really great. I always like to ask if people want to get in touch with you or Brandon and Clark or your team, give us a couple of ways they can reach out to you.
Oh, the best way is probably look for a point of contact on our website, brandonclark.com. And you can find out more about what we do, what job openings we have. We're always looking for great team members, not just in the West Texas area. We've got facilities in the Metroplex,
Yep.
Odessa and Hertford area as well. And we're looking for team members who want to find a tribe to join, a bunch of get-her-done people.
Well, if you want to join an industry and a company that's got a long runway to solve problems, Brandon and Clark, and if you're driving down I-27, you'll just see the big old rotating apparatus right there. So, Scott, again, thank you. And thanks for joining us on another version of the Rise Up podcast. If you want to reach out to Rise Energy, lots of ways to get us at Get Rise Energy, our website, getriseenergy.com. We service all things around battery, generator, solar, energy solution challenges. Scott, it's been great.
Appreciate you.
Until the next time, make it a good one.
Thanks.